They'll be done in just a couple minutes. Chief Melissa Hyatt will be speaking. Then you'll hear from Colonel Andre Davis. And then the county executive will be speaking. But they'll be done in a few minutes.
Oh, hello, how are you? What's going on? Part-time.
You talked to him this morning. Didn't you go down and get the?
I was able to get the lease done, so my wife had at least put the door up. You know, everything happens at once. What's new?
was struck by the snowplow.
No, I think it's you.
We did a couple $1,000.
It's got to be you.
And then they tried to blame it on me.
I'm watching it.
They did, and I said, check this out.
Okay.
There's a video of the snowplow.
Yes. So you came in and it was damage to the car. So he never said anything. And they came in and started blaming you. Because nobody saw it. And nobody could just go look at the tape to see it. Yeah, but they didn't do all this crazy stuff. Did he come talk to you or follow up? No. Yeah, but that would have been a nice gesture. And look, I didn't really think about it.
Which one is? Less than 1 minute, probably now. Seconds away, there you go. I just said that so much for 2 minutes.
They're coming in now.
You ready? Okay. Thank you all for joining us this morning. I first want to express my condolences to each person and family that was affected by the senseless tragedy that occurred yesterday. Baltimore County suffered through a horrific and sickening event which changed the lives of many people, including some who were lost. For the friends and family of the victims, for the employees of the Royal Farm Store, and our entire Baltimore County community, our thoughts and prayers are with you. The Baltimore County Police Department will remain steadfast in our support for those who were impacted by this tragedy. In just a moment, I will turn things over to Colonel Andre Davis, the commanding officer of our Criminal Investigations Division, to discuss the timeline of events and updates from yesterday. Before I do that, I want to stress that we are in the preliminary stages of this investigation, and I understand that right now, frankly, all of us have more questions than answers about the events that occurred yesterday. Please know that our investigators will continue to work tirelessly to investigate this incident, to piece details together, and as additional information becomes available, we will continue to provide updates to the public. For now, we know that 4 innocent people lost their lives and 1 person sustained serious injuries. As we continue with the investigation, our primary focus and concern remains with the victims and their families. Finally, before I turn it over to Colonel Andre Davis, I want to thank County Executive Olszewski for joining us on the scene yesterday and for offering the assistance of county resources to assist the community as well as our members. Colonel Davis.
Well, good morning. So the chain of events are as this. On March 28th at 6:43 a.m., our officers from Essex Precinct was dispatched to the Royal Farm Store located at 1601 Middleborough Road for shooting. When the officers, when we learned that the shooter was at the location, or the shooter arrived at the location, and once he arrived at the location, the shooter blocked in a car that was on the parking lot, exited his car, walked to the window of the car that he blocked in. He shot and killed Miss Alpha Elizabeth as she sat in her car. Then the shooter proceeded to walk into the Royal Farm Store near the cash register and saw Mr. Sylvester Day Jr. As Mr. Sylvester Day stood there, the shooter shot and killed Mr. Day. It was at that point that the shooter turned his attention to an employee who worked in the Royal Farm Store and shot and wounded that employee, and his name was Mr. Joshua Robinson. He is currently in stable condition. Shortly thereafter, officers from Essex Precinct received a dispatch call in the 1400 block of Shady Tree Road, which is not far from Middleborough Road, for an apartment fire. Upon their arrival to the fire, they noticed an apartment that was fully engulfed in flames. They also noticed that there was a deceased male on the parking lot suffering from an apparent gunshot wound. This male was later identified as our shooter. It was around, after homicide detectives identified the shooter, it's customary that we notify the next of kin. Around 3:21 p.m. that day, homicide detectives went to the house in the 1400 block of Manor Road to notify the parents of our shooter. It was at that time, and to their dismay, that they found the bodies of Douglas and Olivia Green in the garage of their home, suffering from an apparent gunshot wound. At that point, the genesis of this tragic chain of events started again at the home on Manor Road, at the Manor Road address. The shooting spree continued to the Royal Farm Store and ended at the home of our shooter. The shooter had no criminal contacts with police. The firearm that the shooter possessed was a legally purchased weapon. As to why this occurred, we have no idea yet. Our homicide detectives are tirelessly investigating a motive, but it appears that the shooter acted alone. Our hearts, as the chief said, our hearts and our prayers go out to the family of all of our victims, and that would be our investigation at this time.
At this time, I would like to ask our county executive to make some remarks.
Thank you, Chief, and good morning to everyone. Yesterday represented an act of senseless violence and a horrifying tragedy, a tragedy that has left family members and loved ones grieving today and without someone around the kitchen table. My deepest condolences go out to the families of everyone who lost a loved one yesterday, and my prayer goes to the injured employee for a swift and full recovery. I want to commend Chief Hyatt and her team here in the Baltimore County Police Department for the work that they are doing in this ongoing investigation. As the chief mentioned, I was on site personally yesterday and got to witness firsthand the outstanding work of the men and women of the Baltimore County Police Department. They continue to have my full support and the full support of Baltimore County government as they continue their investigation. As Chief Hyatt and Colonel Davis has said, this remains a very early stage of the investigation. And as we have more information, we are committed to sharing that with you as we can confirm and have clear information moving forward. As that work continues, I would encourage everyone to check on and care for our neighbors, and I know that we will all be hugging our loved ones a little tighter today and tonight in the wake of this senseless tragedy. So with that, I'll turn things back over to Chief Hyatt and the team for any questions.
Thank you, sir. And with that, we'll take questions.
Chief, does the Royal Farms have any significance to your knowledge why he would go there next?
Again, right now, with this being an early stage in the investigation, those are some of the things that we're looking into. And as that information begins to develop, we will relay that. Yes.
Talk about concerns with the rising homicide rate here in Baltimore County, and more specifically, some of the policing strategies you're implementing as a result.
So certainly, anytime we have the loss of life, that is very significant for us in Baltimore County, as it is everywhere. This event yesterday, and I really want to focus on this event, I'll be happy to follow up with you. This event, we had a significant loss of life, and we are very focused on this. We are very focused on the victims and the families in this incident, and we will continue to update as we can, and I'm happy to follow up with you offline.
Did the victim have, the suspect have siblings? You mentioned that he killed his parents. Are you talking to those family members? What have they been able to tell you at this point as far as his mental state? Were there signs, signals, that anybody in the family said anything?
So we have had some conversation with a family member. Right now, where we are at this point in the investigation, again, there are some points of this process that need to continue. When we are able to definitively have facts and information, we will relay that. We just want to make sure that we are putting out accurate information and that it's factual.
As far as the suspect is concerned, I didn't hear his name. Are you releasing his name?
We released his name yesterday in the press release, and we're intentionally speaking about the names of the victims today.
To confirm, was anyone else in the home where the parents lived at any point in time during this incident, do you believe?
Those are still, there are a lot of facts right now that we are still focused on clarifying. I'm sure that you can understand that we were managing multiple scenes yesterday. There was a lot that was going on, and there was work that went on by a lot of people well into the night between our patrol officers, our forensics team, and our investigators, and there's so many things that we're still sorting out. We wanted to be able to have a press conference today to tell you what we do know, and we assure you that we will have subsequent opportunities to provide information once we know it definitively.
You said that the gun was registered. Was it registered to him, someone else in the household, anything like that?
That's a good question. The gun was, in fact, registered to him.
Are you able to provide any more information about how he purchased it, when he purchased it?
It was a legal purchase, and I would be speculating. No, actually, the purchase was in 2020.
Were you able to, either you were you able to speak with the victim who survived? And was there anything said to the victim as just prior to being shot?
So our investigators have spoken with the victim, who obviously is recovering from a significant injury and a very traumatic event. They will continue to have conversation. As you can imagine, yesterday was a very difficult day, but they did have conversation, and they will continue to have subsequent interviews.
Did they say anything about the suspect saying anything to him, the victim that survived? Did he say anything to him before he shot?
Again, in terms of the interview, it was a very preliminary interview. Part of an incident like this is us being empathetic as well. And when a victim undergoes something traumatic like that, we need to have a very victim-centered focus on our investigation. So we just need to tread lightly, but we will continue to get more information.
Last question.
Sylvester Day, was he an employee at Royal Farms or a customer?
I'm sorry?
Sylvester Day, was he an employee at Royal Farms or was he a customer?
You want to speak on that?
So Sylvester Day
He was a customer.
yes, Sylvester Day was in fact a customer at the Royal Farm.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. We'll follow up